Welcome to Hashtag with Nabuguzi Kiwanuka. This is a place where we help you unravel social constructs, discuss self-development in line with mental health, emotional well-being, and everything in between that directly or indirectly affects us in the millennial world around us. If you're hearing my voice for the first time and are the kind of person who is not scared of being a better version of yourself even if it requires you to contradict who you were 24 hours ago, consider this your virtual home. I'm your host, Nabuguzi Kiwanuka, and I cannot wait to engage with you in the various conversations. In episode 84, Jackie Kyolaba offered a powerful perspective when she shared her personal journey of living with bipolar disorder. In today's episode, we are going to have a transition from personal narratives to professional insights. Over 2 months ago, I sat down with Lorna Nakabuye and we shifted gears to delve into the clinical and therapeutic aspects of bipolar disorder. When I tell you that Hashtag with Nabuguzi Kiwanuka is not your ordinary way of raising awareness on mental health, I'm asking you to trust me on this. Let's dive into it. Lorna!
Hello!
How are you doing?
Good.
Soundbite. Bipolar disorder is not about mood swings. It affects various aspects of a person's life, including relationships, work, and overall well-being. Now, for the people that have been here on the podcast for its lifetime, have an awareness that in episode 84, is it 84? Yeah. Episode 84, we had a guest that gave us a highlight of what it's like to live with bipolar disorder. And now on set with me is our resident psychologist. See your head.
I am a resident now. I just need a thing on my door. Therapist in.
Yes, we have our resident psychologist on board, and we are going to be talking about a little bit on bipolar. So, Lorna, what is that state that people say is bipolar?
Oh my God. Yeah, so I lived in Minnesota for almost 8 years. It's in Midwest of the US. And just because the weather was so interesting sometimes,
Yeah.
people used to say, oh, Minnesota weather is so bipolar. And it's because you'd switch, like most times like in the summertime or like spring, where like on one, like a few hours would be like all nice and sunny and like, 60 degrees Fahrenheit. And people are like, oh yeah, it's a nice day out. And then like in literally like 2-3 hours, it's like down to 40 degrees. Yeah. They'll be like, oh, Minnesota weather is so bipolar. It just keeps switching. And, then, and that was like when I had just moved there and I just was like, what do they mean by it's so bipolar? Mm-hmm. I'm like, I had to like ask people and they're like, yeah, because it keeps switching. I'm like, oh, okay. Whatever. I didn't give much thought to it. And then eventually, as I got deeper and deeper into my studies and, with the clinical diagnosis and clinical mental health stuff, then I read and understood what bipolar meant. And I was like, well, this is way different than what these guys were talking about, how, the weather is so bipolar. Because to call something, to say, just to make that diagnosis, it takes a lot more than just a switch in moods. Yes, it is. It has a little bit of a component of like the switch in moods. Mm-hmm. However, it's not just like in 2 seconds, it takes a lot more. So that's why I was like, it's one of those misconceptions where like, I think people need to watch how they use words because then they make it sound less than it is. And yet bipolar disorder is one of the severe and persistent mental illnesses, the kind that stay for a lifetime. So when people are just making it sound like it's an everyday thing, making light of the diagnosis, it takes away from how intense and severe the actual illness and challenge is for people that are going through it. So yeah, now this is the time we're going to talk about what it means to have a bipolar depression, bipolar disorder diagnosis means, what it looks like. And hopefully this will be helpful for people to understand, not make light of the situation, hopefully. Yeah.
Where do we start? Do we first have a clearer image of what a bipolar disorder looks like?
Yeah, we could start there. Because that way, since we've talked about what it does not look like, we could
then what it is.
Then what it does it look like. Like I said, bipolar disorder is one of in the clinical field, we call them severe and persistent mental illnesses, in short, SPMIs. Those are some that typically lifelong, chronic, most times need medication alongside therapy. So bipolar disorder is one of those. And there's a difference. There's bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. And we'll really talk about those, hopefully.
What is that like? Is that like stage 4 cancer and early stages?
Not necessarily. It's just a difference with, it could be symptoms. The symptoms are very similar. It's just the difference could also be the time. Like how long
it's taken?
Like how long you've experienced the symptoms to give you a diagnosis of bipolar 1 or bipolar 2. They typically, when we're diagnosing, sometimes we don't necessarily differ, like 1 or 2. But also, I mean, some people do it differently than I do. But yeah, if the biggest difference between bipolar disorder and other, mental health diagnosis or challenges is bipolar disorder has a manic period. By manic, I mean a time where someone could appear to have everything together. They could appear to have everything together, but most times it's elevated. In the sense, I mean, like, their moods are elevated. They're like, someone who wasn't talking much, like, is now over-talking. Like, they have an increased need to talk. And over-talking, decreased need for sleep. They're like sleeping 2 hours, where a regular person would need at least like 6 to 8. This person just needs 2, and they're like, okay, I'm ready to go. That's a manic episode. And then they are, I said, talking a bit more or than usual, and there's also inflated self-esteem. Where someone is just like, I am God, I am this, I am
King of Kings.
Yes, exactly. I am the it, and it's inflated. Where it's like, well, okay, this does not sound like regular Lorna or whatever.
Right.
A flight of ideas. So when your thoughts are racing, you have lots of things. You want to create this business and you want to do this one and you want to do that one. Or you have money for this. Or let me drive to Mukono. They told me that there was a business there. And then you get in a taxi, straight away you're going to Mukono. And then you're meeting these people and you're like, oh, I have this business idea. I have this. And then in the next breath, you're just like, okay, now there's this business in Masaka. And you're like, okay, yes, I am going there. You have the ideas just come to you and you want to do everything at one time. And they're just like, every 2 seconds you have a new business idea and you know exactly who to talk to and how to get there. And you're just like full on action, like you're chasing this dream. That's very typical of a manic episode. Distractibility. Easily distracted because like I said, the flight of ideas, things keep coming to you. Your attention doesn't stay on one particular thing. Yes. Your attention doesn't stay on one particular thing. And then also in line with that, an increase in goal-oriented activity. So it'd be like school or socially. It could also be sexually. When, I had a client that when they were in their manic episode, they would sleep with multiple people, just this person, and they had no care in the world.
You know what? We want to slow this part.
Okay.
They say slow motion, eh?
Okay.
We want to hear this. Do you know why? I've been troubled with the way how sex is being thrown around. At every scroll on social media, someone is talking about sex. You're like, I am tired. Guys, find something else.
Right.
So when you bring up like that, I'm like, huh? That is also there.
It is a thing. It's one of, It's because during a manic episode, there's, an increased increase in risky behaviors, I guess. And some of this could just be like someone is driving recklessly on the road, just risk taking in a sense of and you're thinking like, aren't you thinking that you could easily crash into something or someone? And there's, sleeping around, and you're like, aren't you thinking that you could get sick, you could get pregnant, whatever the case is? Risky behavior could just be like shoplifting, any risky behavior. I had a client, that same client actually, and she was talking about how when she was experiencing her manic episode, one time she thought she would steal a goldfish from an aquarium. And she actually attempted.
That isn't the open.
That's what I'm talking about. You don't think things through and ideas just keep coming to you. You don't even take a second to think about how safe it is. Security wise, where like I could get caught, I could get arrested.
Is it like a thrill?
Exactly. It's a little bit like a thrill. So you're just like, again, like I said, it's elevated. Self-esteem is on 100. You're just flight of ideas. Everything is just on 100. You're like, go, go, go. I don't need sleep. I just need to talk. Probably some of them don't even eat because I'm like, I don't need food. I can function. I'm good. That sort of thing. And this usually goes on for at least a week. So that's a manic episode. And also there's an increase in interest in activities. You're just like, you want to play sports. You want to go do this. You want to just, act in a play. But like different things. You're just like all over the place.
Yeah.
Just, in better terms. And like I said, it's within a week. If this happens for a period of a week, that is a manic episode.
Like overly tight for a week.
For a straight week. At least that's where we start with diagnosis. I know. It's exhausting. It is exhausting. But you know what? Then typically people with bipolar disorder, they go into a crash where it's like a dip. Now you're coming from a high of everything is on 100 to super low depression.
Negatives.
Exactly. So you've had a whole week or two of manic episodes. You're going, go, and then you go into a deep depression. You're withdrawing. You're not eating. You're sleeping a lot more. This is coming from someone who used to sleep 2 hours, and now you're sleeping like almost, days on end.
Yeah.
So you're sleeping a lot more, and then you're in a depressed mood. You're feeling sad, empty, crying most of the time. And then you have, sometimes you're sleeping more. And then also sometimes you have that insomnia. Weight loss. You're going through, experiencing significant weight loss, diminished interest in things. This is someone, coming from a place where the manic episode, where you're just like, go, 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 ideas, activities. Now you have no interest in any activities. Yeah. So that's the major depressive episode. Fatigue, feeling worthless, lack of concentration, indecisiveness. And then sometimes there's self-harm behavior or, thoughts of suicide, typical with depressive symptoms or episodes. So really, with bipolar depression or bipolar disorder, you have a week or more of mania, and then you have another week or more of depression. So when people say you just switch between, moods, it makes it sound like it's just like, oh, one day you're this and then next day you're that.
Yeah.
Or 2 seconds you're this, 2 seconds you're that. This is to make a full diagnosis, this has to have happened within at least long enough for like a week or like 2 weeks, stuff like that. So the fluctuation in moods and all that is what would qualify for a bipolar depression or bipolar disorder diagnosis.
When you talk about the bipolar depression, I'm hearing you for the first time. Is that where you are the opposite of the manic episode?
The bipolar depression? Yes, because that's when you're going through the depressive episode and then, coming from the manic episode. So I guess sometimes I tend to interchange the two things. But the diagnosis is bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you feel like beyond the symptoms, what are some of the things, are there some specific things, let me say, oh my God, I feel like this is a repetition.
Well, which one? Go for it.
Because I was going to say, there are things that you feel like there are misconception. But then we're already having the signs and how people have this imagination that it's a matter of mood and swing.
We can talk about misconceptions because it's definitely some misconceptions in there. One of them is some people believe that during a manic episode, someone is super productive. They could be super productive, However, it also takes a toll on them because they're not sleeping.
That's the part where I was like, that is exhausting. You can't be overly charged for 7 days straight.
Yeah. They're not sleeping. They're not eating. They're just, engaging in risky behavior. So when you really think about it, it's not being productive. Another misconception is, we've talked about the frequent mood swings. Another misconception is looking at bipolar disorder as a character flaw, when it's actually a legitimate medical condition and, there's a chemical imbalance and there's a bit of it to do with how it's passed down. It could be passed down in generations. So it's not just like, someone just picked up, they're just being stubborn or lazy, whatever. Like, it is actually a medical condition.
Yeah.
So I feel like people need to take it.
That part of laziness, and I'm seeing the person going from the high to slumping.
Right. You could see how easily someone can be like, oh, you were so productive like a week ago, and now you're not doing anything,
Why are you
being lazy?
Right.
Exactly. So let's see. I'm trying to think of another one. Just some people were like, like a manic episode could be fun and exciting because the thrill. You talked about the thrill.
Yeah.
So,
but no.
Exactly.
Why the heck are you buying? Where you stealing the goldfish?
Right.
In public, and then people start chasing you around.
Exactly. So it could be thrilling to some people. Like, let's say teenagers. Think about like teenagers. They're just like wanting to be like stubborn or just like,
That's different.
And then the thrill.
That's
like, oh my God, that sounds fun. Really? You did that? That's so cool. And looking back, you're like, that's actually very risky.
Right.
And that's not healthy. If you keep going with this risky behaviors, you could die. You could get arrested. You could get sick. Different things.
Yeah.
So actually, now that I think about it, that one client of mine, when she was telling me all the stories during her manic episodes, she was like, she would feel so tired. After the manic episode, she would feel so tired. And then she would just like look back and question why she did some things. But in the moment, she's not
so you can actually remember.
Mm-hmm. She was able to tell us the things she was doing. So you can remember. It's just that in that moment, you can't help it.
You don't have control of yourself.
You don't. You're just like this, that, this, that, this. You have no stop. You. There's no way you can stop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's not all fun. It's not fun.
It can be. It can't be.
I mean, depending on how you understand it. Yeah.
What more do you feel like we need to understand about the bipolar disorder?
Let's see. Treatment strategies. Because when you listen, for people that are able to listen to that episode 84, she was talking about being in an environment that people didn't really understand what she was going through. People are thinking that, she has some spiritual things that needed to be prayed for and stuff like that. So it took her a while to get help. And by the time she got the help, of course, sometimes, people are lucky they get help early on. And then other times they've already done a lot of damage. Let's say you now have a criminal record. You've probably caused some accidents. You've probably gotten sick from all the, risky, let's say, sexual behaviors. So by the time you get the help, a lot of damage has been done.
Yeah.
So, and yet sometimes, like, let's say in Uganda, I've had actually very many people with that diagnosis. And most of them say, people didn't really understand what it was. And by the time they got to Butabika or whatever, it was a little bit, not too late, but a lot had been done.
Yeah.
So early intervention is key a lot of the times. And I don't want to say that, I guess I just want to say that sometimes, or especially in Uganda, we're just learning about the mental health stuff, mental illness. So it makes sense that it might take a little bit of time for people to get help. But I just want people to know that the help is there.
Yeah.
A lot of times people with bipolar disorder need medication, and to stay on the medication, like I said, it's one of the severe and persistent. That means it probably stays with you for a lifetime. So you have to stay on your medication, especially to help balance out the mood, the chemical, make sure that everything in your system is balanced out. So you have to stay on the medication, and then you have to seek, continue seeking therapy. So it's one of those that you have to combine with medication and talk therapy. So you get some coping mechanisms on just how to manage the symptoms, the depression, manage the manic episodes. So yes, treatment is available. And like I said, there's medication, therapy, and the therapies, I'm sure we've talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
The types of therapy.
Yeah.
And also it's also one of those things where you have to do some lifestyle adjustments.
What is it like?
Regular exercising, healthy sleep routines, avoiding drugs and alcohol, just to help, especially some of those medications don't do well with, lack of sleep or engaging or in participating in substance use. So just keeping a healthy lifestyle in general could be really helpful. Yeah.
What are some of the environmental factors that you feel like might contribute to this disorder? Are there any that you have in mind?
With bipolar disorder, the causes might not be very out there, direct. Like I said, there's a little bit to do with DNA and how things are passed down through generations, chemical imbalance. So if you have someone in your line that had that diagnosis, it's very likely, you do have a percentage of likelihood that you would also get that diagnosis. However, it's one of those cases of nature and nurture.
Yeah.
Where they come together, where if you have that in your DNA, in that line, and then something happens in your everyday life, be it as a child or as an adult, to trigger those symptoms, that is also a thing. So one of those triggers could just be abuse. It could be, in that episode, for those that have listened to it, she was talking about how she found her boyfriend cheating. And that was the thing that triggered her to, triggered her. Then the symptoms of bipolar disorder started expressing themselves. So different things in your environment can trigger. It could be like a breakup. It could be, just different traumas. Really anything. If I can say different things in the environment. Yeah.
What do you think could be, because we are having these people in society with us, and if we are aware of their diagnosis, what are some of the things that we should put our mind to when it comes to the way the diagnosis or that ailment could affect our social relationships?
Oh, yeah. I mean, just like any diagnosis, like it does affect your, I mean, I guess to make a diagnosis or to qualify to have a mental health challenge, one has to be, I'm trying to find the way to best explain it. Because usually we could have stressors, we could have anxiety. However, if this anxiety is getting in the way of everyday life and it's affecting you socially or with school or whatever it is, then it qualifies to, you qualify to be diagnosed in that way. So again, almost all mental health challenges affect people socially, relationship-wise.
Yeah.
So bipolar disorder, think about it. If you are engaging in risky behavior, how many people are going to be close to you?
That one is a trouble causer.
Right. And if you are, have that high self-esteem and you're just like, I am God, I am this, I am
Bow to
this.
me, my dear.
How many people are going to be close to you? Or how many people are going to look at you like you're quote unquote crazy? People are going to look at you sideways. People are going to definitely think that there's something going on. Or some people are going to actually believe you, depending on how. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah. Hey.
I did not mean to ruffle feathers.
A moment of silence. Yes, please.
I didn't mean to ruffle any feathers.
I did not think about it. No, it is important, guys. Okay.
Yeah. Because it's a thing. It's a thing, and
let us pass this announcement. Kidogo too. So, like Lorna has mentioned, respect the position she has. There are possibilities that when someone calls themselves God, we're going to believe them. Yeah? Just that is a pandemic we have now. These are not her words, these are my words. Like, she said it and I was like, oh, wait, let me pass this.
Because you can't help how people respond to things that you say.
And we are ready to fight for them and protect them. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So, what was I saying?
Relationships.
Yeah.
Some will run away from you and others will believe you.
Yeah. And, just like when you're going through the major depressive episode, coming down off of the mania, how many people are going to be there for you? How many, how much damage would you have done during the manic episode? That now, are you able to change it or not? Like we talked about earlier, if you've been arrested during your manic episode, you now have a criminal record.
Yeah.
You have ruined some relationships with people. Maybe you've stolen from them. Maybe you've been violent. Maybe, whichever way you've affected those relationships. Then now, how are you going to repair these relationships? Is it beyond repair? So they're definitely going to get in the way of just you building and maintaining relationships with people, friendships. And they're going to get in the way of work, of really anything that you're doing. Because imagine someone has to go to work, but they've just come off of a manic episode. They were super, super productive or whatever they were able to get done, on 2 hours of sleep, but now they need about 14 hours of sleep.
Ouch.
Now their schedules are changing. They need more time because now they can't even get out of bed.
The way how that Jackie mentioned it in her episode, that she just couldn't wake up.
Right.
And in my head, I was like, huh?
Yeah. Because now, like, you're on a low, you can't wake up. You just have no energy to do anything. let's say you started all these businesses, you put money in all these businesses when you're having a manic episode, and everything is just gone down the drain. Now you have no money. Let's say you have a family, and now you can't provide for them because all the money has been, put in all these ideas that you had during the manic episode. So it's affecting you financially. It's affecting you socially, work-wise, all round, So it is definitely going to be a thing that affects your daily life. And without the help, to help managing the symptoms, this is probably going to be your life for a long time.
Yeah.
And how long are you going to be able to live like this? So that's why medication and therapy and stuff like that is very important for people with bipolar disorder. Because like I said, it's one of the lifelong diagnosis.
When you talk about the side of the mood, does that word exist?
Dysregulation, something? Is that what you're looking for?
Does it exist?
Dysregulation? Yeah.
Okay, yes. The mood, it's okay. So that one that you said, when we delve into it, is there besides scientific medication, is there a possibility of someone having those mood regulations on their own, or is it specifically something to top up the medication?
I think it's something to, if I'm getting the question correctly, so you're asking if only medication can help you regulate.
That's
mood?
right.
No. It does, like I said, bipolar disorder is one of those that I feel like you have to have the two. You have to have medication and also talk therapy. So the medication does help, to help regulate mood, and talk therapy further helps. So they work together, if I could say that. So not one in place of the other. So they do work together. Because in talk therapy, what you're going to learn is, how do I regulate my mood? How do I, and we work a lot with clients where we're teaching them emotion regulation skills. Yeah.
Great.
So you are getting these skills in therapy where, when I'm feeling happy and productive, how do I maintain this mood in a healthy way? I'm happy, I'm excited. Okay, let me hang out with my friends. Let me reach out to people. In a healthy way.
Don't be taking the goldfish from the aquarium.
Yeah, probably not out of the aquarium. So again, that's where the medication comes in, because then it's helping you regulate the emotions even without, hopefully without making it worse. So yeah, we're now, teaching clients how to reach out to people, attend to their relationships that they have. We're teaching people how to create routines. How do I create like a sleep routine where like, okay, I'm feeling energetic today. Instead of staying in bed the whole day, let me get out, let me work out, let me go to work.
Can those decisions be made?
What do you mean?
Like when they are at their lowest, do they have the power to make those decisions that, let me try?
Yeah. They do have they can have the power. Sometimes most times it's not very easy. But again, that's where the medication comes in.
Yeah.
So it helps you kind of give you a kickstart to, like, if you're feeling very, very low, you're taking some antidepressants. They kind of help you like boost your mood. So with the boost in the mood, then you're able to create that routine and get out of bed and, go to work, go to school, go do some exercising. So stuff like that. So that's where the combination comes in. They give you that like a boost. So again, yeah, I hope I've answered your question, but yeah, with mood regulation, it's a combination, of talk therapy and medication, especially for SPMIs. Yeah.
Okay. Is there something that you feel like we may have left out?
Oh, yeah. Now that I think about it, like I've had a lot of people when they are talking about their diagnosis, especially with this particular diagnosis. I've had a few people that, let me just say it as it is. This is my name. I am bipolar, or I am a bipolar. And I'm just like cringing where I am. It's like you're now taking on the identity. You're adding your diagnosis to your identity. And that's just no.
Can we talk about the dangers of doing that?
Because then you're carrying it with you. It's like, it's now, I understand this is something that you might have to live with lifelong. However, it doesn't mean that this is who you are. Because what's going to happen, like what's happening is it's a diagnosis and you're managing the symptoms. Think about in the opposite. It's like telling yourself, this is my name. I am a cancer. Or like I am a cancer.
I was actually going to give you an example.
Patient. Like you walk in a room and this is not who you are.
There's more to you.
There's more to you than that diagnosis. So when someone says, I am a bipolar or I am bipolar, it really rubs me the wrong way.
I've actually had to think about myself getting a microphone. Probably we're in a conference. Hey, this is Nabuguzi. I'm asthmatic.
It's like, okay, and
then what? You know?
Yeah.
Because it's not, okay, probably it's a conference on asthma. And
right.
they're having that conversation. I think that's why it would make sense. But
even with that, I would say, I have been diagnosed with this particular thing. Because then it separates you as an individual from your illness.
From the diagnosis.
Right. So I hope people are listening to this and are able to understand the magnitude of carrying that diagnosis with you, because there is a lot more that you are than the diagnosis that you carry around. It's just a tiny piece of you. Even if it's a lifelong thing, it's a tiny piece of you. You can still be a lawyer. You can still be a teacher. You can still be whatever. You're a mother. You are a father. You are a sister. Whatever you are, that is your, parts of your identity. Their diagnosis is just a piece of it, and it's just not who you are as you walk in the door. It's like, because I think about it's like, oh, I am malaria. It's like, no, that is not you.
I am malaria.
Would you write that on your CV?
Barely.
No. So, yeah.
So should we also, is that more like a highlight on how people are taking on mental illnesses as badges of honor?
I did not even think about it that way.
Yeah, because when you were talking, I had to think about that part where some people seem sigh. Some people seem to feel like that is something that puts them right above every other person, or maybe not above as such, but very, I don't know. Should I say the word special?
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
From every one of you. So,
yeah, I hear what you're saying. And I'm positive that there's probably some people that carry that and use that as if like, give me some special treatment because I have this diagnosis. And again, it goes down to,
we are looking for always.
I'm really looking for always, because there's definitely people that do need, and I don't want to call it special treatment, but it's just like a kind of an understanding and accommodation, depending on, time and place. If you're at a job and it's maybe a very stressful job, or you need some accommodation, or it may be a few triggers here and there, and letting your employers know that, hey, I have this diagnosis. Maybe you'd be accommodative of me this way. And then there's other people that use it to the sense of like, now I need some special treatment. I'm not going to show up to work. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to fall behind on my assignments because I have this and this and this and this diagnosis. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely people that are going to take it in different forms. So when you say that some people carry it as badges of honor, probably those are people that will use it to their advantage and be like, oh, I need some special treatment just because I have this diagnosis.
Someone wrote something and I want to find it. Yeah, I hope it's not very far. Is there something that you want to pass on before I find it?
Go for it.
Where could she have put it? Ooh, it's after us getting to that I remembered the post. Let me see.
Actually, now that I think about it, there's I think I was talking to one of my clients and she was talking about, well, in this new, I want to say new because it's quite a new field in Uganda, and with the younger generation and them being so open-minded and ready to talk about mental health and whatever the challenges they're going through, there's some people definitely that are using this as a way to get out of things. So she was asking me like, so now how do you know where to put the stop? Of like, okay, now this person is actually needing some accommodation and then this person is just using it to their advantage. And I was like, it's hard. It's hard to know because then someone could, and that's the thing, people make light of some mental illnesses. So when people really actually do need the accommodation, it's hard for other people to accommodate that because of people have made it so light.
Someone got angry. Someone got really angry to a point that I was defeated. I was talking to him and I told him that I couldn't have a guest because they were having some troubles. And he was like, what sort of troubles? Like, not okay mentally. And because I know it happens.
Right.
He didn't take it. He was cross. He was like, the problem with you young people is that you just want to use that as a card. When you don't want to do something, you just say, it compromises my mental health. And I was like, but... And he was like, no. Yes, I actually feel conflicted that I understand it happens, but there is also this other side and you don't know where to fall.
Right.
I wanted to bring my rebuttals, but this person was getting angrier.
Yeah.
I think he had already seen it.
Probably.
So me telling him, I was like, oh.
Let me just keep my cool. And you kind of understand where he's coming from. One end, you understand like, yes, there's people taking this to their advantage. And on the other hand, it's like, there's actually people that are serious about this.
Right.
So we all, like, the people that are serious get lost in, the chaos of other people that are, making light of the situation. So it's really hard. And I feel for like employers having to figure that out. Schools.
Because it's complex.
Yeah.
Especially when you don't have so much information about something.
Exactly. And then you just like, you don't also want to deny someone accommodation when they actually need it. And then it turns out they actually need it. And then you just like feel like crap for not being able to help them. So it's a very tough place to be in. I feel for them. Yeah.
So here's the post that I was talking about. It was made 5 days ago. And this person wrote that when terrible people start going to therapy, what can happen is they lie to their therapists because when you lack self-awareness, your truth is far from reality. Then they learn all this clinical language and weaponize it for moral superiority, badge of honor, for moral superiority and to justify the ways they move terribly. Using therapy to justify your tyranny is trash. It's wild, and in brackets she put, and fascinating to watch.
I mean, I see where she's coming from. there's people that are using, like the big words to excuse their bad behavior. And it's sad. Yeah. It's sad because you don't know who to believe. Let's use that.
I feel like it becomes an extension of these stereotypes.
Yeah, it does.
And the increase of stigma.
Exactly. Oh, this is sad. Just thinking about it, I'm just like, oh my God, it's just one of those things that you just see going down the rabbit hole. Like you're creating awareness, but you also don't know who is receiving this awareness and how they're interpreting it. And then people are just running around with words and big words, and they just want to sound cool and smart. It's like, do you really understand what it calls for?
Yeah.
It's like how we're talking about PTSD, and people just post, oh, I think I have PTSD from this thing. And it's like, I know you want to sound cool and smart. However, do you really understand what PTSD consists of?
Right.
I think you need to use other words. Oh my God, this person is so bipolar. Like, yes, I know you probably want to sound like you're cool and you sound like the big words and diagnosis, clinical terms. However, do you really understand the magnitude of this statement that you're making? So it's just like, it's sad. Yeah. It's one of those things you can't control. You can only hope that people get educated and just not use words like that as just weapons and ways to look cool. We have a lot of work to do.
Sigh.
We have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh well, one day at a time.
One day at a time. Yes, please.
Yeah.
All right, Lorna. How do you want us to close this?
Let's see. I really wanted to talk about this particular topic because of how people make light of it, and also how there's a lot of people getting this diagnosis. And so I just want people to understand the magnitude of this diagnosis, and just to encourage people out there that are facing the same things or seeing anyone in their environment that is going through these episodes or having these symptoms, to just know that there is help. There's people that are managing their symptoms because they got the help early on. So if there's anyone in your environment that you suspect to maybe have these particular symptoms or going through the same thing, encourage them to seek help. And also understanding, again, the magnitude of this diagnosis so that people don't make light of it and they just don't throw the word around. And also just not to carry this diagnosis as if it's identifies who you are. It's just a part of you. It's not who you fully are. I think that's really it.
Yeah.
And just really there's help. There's help. Seek help as early as you can. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Anytime. I'm always happy to be here.
Kampala Counseling Services is what brings you this episode. Is the organization?
Kampala Counseling Services.
Is it an organization?
Oh, it's an outpatient clinic, I guess. Yep.
It brings you this episode. Yes, Lorna, read us the number.
Oh yeah, for anyone that needs my help, my services, they can reach me at 0741 056 164, both directly and on WhatsApp.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao. My heartfelt thanks goes to you, Lorna, our resident psychologist. Thank you so much for sharing your invaluable expertise and shedding light on the clinical aspects of bipolar disorder. Of course, we're not done with everything related to bipolar, but at least we have added a brick of knowledge onto what we may have had an idea about. So thank you so much. Allow me to also thank you, my dear listener, for hanging out with us to the very end. And if anything resonated with you in this episode or you learned something, please share with us on social media. do not forget to tag us when you share. We are at hashtag Nabuguzi Kiwanuka on Instagram and Facebook, and on X. Oh my God, today I aced it. I've always been saying Twitter. And on X, our handle is at HTNK Podcast. You can also use a hashtag HTNK in session, and we will be sure to catch whatever you have to share or whatever related with you in this episode. Catch you in episode 120.